So there's four truths I'm going to introduce you today that's got a lot to do with content creation to help you take that first step, because the world is going to be up against you doing it. You're going to be up against you doing it. Your brain is going to go absolutely nuts trying to stop you from doing this. Everything in your gut is going to try and stop you from doing this. So we're going to learn to work with that. The first thing is a bit of a roadmap for us. You cannot be discovered if you stay invisible. Now, it might be okay. You've got word of mouth in your market. You may actually have a really good reputation. That's all good, but that can only take you so far. After that, you need to have some kind of place online or a place for people to discover you, not just to be referred to you. The truth second is this fear of judgment is the real blocker, not the lack of skills. You might think, oh, I don't know how to do these things, but you learned incredibly complex things to become who you are today. If you're going to become any sort of content creator, then you need to learn that it's not the skills, because you've been able to learn skills before. It's just the fear of being judged as you move into this. And trust me, it's still there every day for me. The little imposter whispering on my left shoulder going, who the hell do you think you are? That still happens. The truth number three is content builds trust before you walk in the room. And this means that, somebody like last week in a coffee catch up I had, said to me straight off when they met me, said, I feel like I already know you. And we had never actually met each other in person. And that is such a warm, beautiful feeling that drove me to write a newsletter about it, to mention it here today, and to realize that's kind of the whole reason, that's the payoff I get, other than money, because money's good. We all like money. But I also like that whole thing of someone just having a good feeling when they've dealt with me. It does feel good. But they won't be able to do that if they don't get a chance to know you online. Truth number four is that speaking online sharpens your thinking. And I'll kind of show you a bit more of what I mean about that shortly. The whole invisibility problem is that, we want bigger, better clients. We want more opportunities. We really want to get this right. But the problem is we end up consuming all these other people's content, including webinars like this. Eventually, we all have to, graduate from this stuff, but you will be spending so much time searching through YouTube and looking at how amazing things that people are doing on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook, and going, man, I just wish I could do that. In the meantime, you're not going anywhere forward with letting anyone know that you exist. Nobody can find you if nobody knows you exist. And whilst SEO for your website can go a long way to getting local customers, the trouble of trying to get anything beyond local customers, if that's something you want to grow into, that's really difficult, because Google naturally locates its search to location. It really is best for local businesses rather than global or interstate businesses, that kind of thing. The kind of SEO work that needs to be done and that you're competing against is the biggest in the business, the biggest highest spending marketing gurus in the world are the ones who really are getting ahead. Now, you probably won't compete with that. What you can do is go to where they don't do so well, which is through the social platforms, the visibility platforms. Even YouTube is a really great place for that. So the shift isn't, should I create content? It's more about, what can I help people with? So a lot of my content, including these webinars, is about going, well, here's some stuff I've done before. Here's a process I've gone through before. Hey, this might be helpful to help you get started as well. And the whole thing about this is starting where you are, not starting from where you think you should be. I'm not trying to create my content to compete with the really advanced stuff that's available on YouTube and other platforms. I'm just up to where I'm up to and going, well, this worked for me, and I've seen it work for others, so this might be good for you as well. And that's where you need to start. You need to start where you are, rather than comparing yourself to what everybody further along the trail is doing than you. You need to be just one step ahead of the people you're helping. That's what teachers essentially do. If they're teaching in an area they don't really know that well, and our teachers in primary school, high school, even in university have done this, they're really only just maybe a step or two ahead of where we are at as students. And that's okay. That's not faking it. That's actually how it works. It's how we are positioned as experts. We don't have to be the expert above all other experts. We just have to be an expert to a certain group of people. And that's how you start to be discovered, because you're producing content that isn't just relevant and sustainable for you. It's relevant for people who are at a certain point of the journey in which you're helping them. So where do we start? Excuse me, I'm actually off sick today, working from home. Nasty cough. Identify your topic. What do you know that you genuinely help someone else? Now you start really narrow maybe and focus on one specific area. You might say it's about children's entertainment. You might say it's about community building, something you've been able to do. You have some kind of track record there that people can look at you and go, wow, she's done that. Okay. So she's succeeded at this. Maybe I can too. You need that specific area where you have knowledge or expertise to share, because in the early days, it's very hard for someone to be able to see what it is you stand for and what you're really good at. If you're doing 15 different topics over 15 days, well, we don't know who you are. We don't know what you're actually an expert at, because everything you're doing is so all over the place. And then pick a platform. I love LinkedIn. I picked that on January 1, 2022. I woke up and went, I'm going all in on LinkedIn, and have done ever since. So I'm up to year 4 now and feeling pretty good about it. So don't try to be everywhere at once. Choose the platform where your target audience already spends time. I'm a business to business person. The people who pay my bills are businesses, not individual consumers. So for me, I needed to be where businesses hung out and where businesses were looking to connect, where businesses were looking to be upskilled on things. So I chose LinkedIn, but I'm also on Facebook in a smaller way. I'm on Instagram in a smaller way as well. Sometimes on X when I feel like bursting out some stuff to it. There's lots of platforms out there. But one platform I am always looking to get more involved in is YouTube, because I've had very good success on YouTube in the past without even putting much attention onto it. For instance, this webinar will go onto YouTube, where it will reach far further than just the few people who may be on this call live right now. That's going to reach a way, way more people and might be more helpful. And YouTube is an amazing place for me to get leads for people to work with me from. They see someone who explains something in a way that they can understand. And so they therefore go, well, I like what you're doing, so I want to work with you. And this is where I get clients from the US, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, the UK, France. There's been a crazy like places where people come from when you do great things on YouTube. So that might be something for you. The other thing is too, that when it comes down to the content you're creating, we tend to lean towards performing. We tend to lean towards very performative stuff. Hey, hi, I'm here and I'm introducing, and let me show you this amazing thing, and let me show you the best things about my life and about the things that I do. But what people are mostly interested in is how you overcame a same problem that they're going through. So if that problem is visibility of your community to a greater number of people in your demographic, then you would naturally lean towards content from people who are talking about how they grew their community to more people within their demographic. That's a pretty natural thing to do. So if you start being really performative and saying, look at me, I'm amazing, I'm wonderful, I live this amazing life, it is for entertainment. People only view you for entertainment. They're not actually viewing you for anything else other than having their eyes tickle a little bit and being entertaining. They're not going to convert to be clients of any sort. Authenticity beats polish. And we say that quite a lot and have been saying it for years. But the reality is that people do connect with real stories that meet them where they are at, not just real stories and oversharing, but something which is geared towards the problem they're trying to solve in the context they're trying to solve it. And you are the face of the person who they feel like they could trust to help them solve that problem. So start there. Next up, though, we've got to look at the biggest block. And we often think it's skill. I don't know how to record videos. I don't know how to talk on camera. I don't know all the bits and pieces I've got to have correct in order to create webinars. I don't know how to create good graphics. I don't. And that's not the biggest skill, because like I said before, you learned to get where you are today by going through hard things. You overcame difficult things in order to learn the skills that you have now, whether that's making balloon animals, or whether it's making, entertaining people on a piano, or whether that is setting up webinars for hundreds of people. You got there somehow by learning something. And then all of a sudden you look at someone who's further along the trail than you are, and you go, oh, I just don't have the skills to do that. No, it's not true. You do have the skills to get as far as you got. It's not that big a push in skills to go that little bit further. What you fear is judgment. What will people think? Who the hell do I think I am? What if this post flops? Who am I to talk about this when there's way, way bigger and smarter and more successful people than me to talk about it? I could do that every day. There's like a billion different people who are better than me at everything that I do. But I found my audience, I found the people I want to connect with and the people I might like to work with, or who can connect me through to the people I want to work with. And that's me shutting down that fear of judgment. It says, well, if I'm going to walk into a venue in Brisbane where nobody knows me and have a coffee catch up with 10 people, I've got to quieten that fear of judgment and go, well, they've booked, they've paid, they're turning up. I don't think they're judging me. I think they have something actually they see in me that they would like to connect with. Otherwise, I wouldn't have paid for it in the first place. Or when you're working onto a stage because you've been asked to speak about something you've gone through or something you've overcome, likewise, no one's there judging you. You are judging you, but they're not judging you. They're expecting to get something from you that's going to either connect them to the strength they didn't even know they had, or a skill they didn't have yet, or some kind of inspiration that's going to kick them into action to achieve the things that you've achieved as well. So no one's there really sitting there just going, oh, who the hell you think you are? No one's thinking that. What they'll see is somebody come out doing what they do and they go, oh, that's interesting. And then they'll get back to their work and doing what they're doing. Because basically, if you're good enough at what you're doing, you stop really caring too much about what the people are coming behind you, except that you might actually make friends with them. And they're really good people to make friends with, because usually the people who are coming behind you charge a little less than you. So you can sort of you can send over your clients that you can't work with anymore to them to work with. And when they get past, their clients get to the point where they can't learn anything else from them, they've got someone to pass up to you. That's what collaboration really looks like. So when you're moving through the fear, you've got to name exactly what it is. Excuse me. Is it judgment from friends and family? I know that for me, that stopped me from years getting involved in Instagram as a business owner instead of as somebody who's a funny friend who's gay and happy and fat and traveling and eating food. I had to move on from being that sort of, here I am sharing my life to here I am sharing what I do for work. And I feared judgment from my friends until one day I posted and said, okay, I'm about to talk about my business here. This whole profile is about to change. If you don't like that, you're very free to unfollow me. And you know what happened? Maybe 3 people unfollowed me. No one cared because no one actually saw it. No one was seeing that stuff in the first place. What I started to do was produce content on Instagram that was more connected to what I do. And gradually over time, it's now become a business attraction program for me rather than just simply a place where I share my eggs Benedict. So for you, it could be perfectionism. You don't want to show up on things like Instagram if it's not absolutely perfect. Got a question for I got a fact here for you. Nothing ever is, and you'll never ever feel like it's perfect, and that's good. That's because perfect doesn't work anyway. Yes, I'm sure the Kylie Jenner perfection photos worked for her, but you probably noticed the Kardashians are kind of nobodies now. Nobody cares about them. It's all moved on. That perfection lifestyle, the wealth signaling, it's all gone now. No one cares about it anymore. So, what is the cost of letting that fear win? It's a question you need to ask yourself. Does it hurt enough yet that I'm willing to overcome that fear of judgment? The logic would say there is no judgment, just get on with it. But, we're not logical creatures. We're quite emotional. And part of that would let us go, well, even though I know that, I still can't move past it. So then make it about cost. This is costing me time, costing me opportunities, costing me clients. Then I really need to start making a move, because it's not just the action and the potential loss of that action that has a cost. It's also the lack of action that has probably the biggest cost. Because even if you move forward and you've lost something, you've actually gained a learning. But by just sitting still and not doing anything, you make nothing. You learn nothing. You lose nothing, but you also don't make anything. But you actually do lose something. You lose all that learning you could have had. This is you then needing to go, who am I? And owning who that is. And Sheryl Sandberg wrote an excellent book called Leaning In, which was all about leaning into who you are, leaning into, your faults, your vulnerabilities, your issues. Content creation is like a mirror that you're holding up to yourself. You can use it not just to tell a story, but to work through things. Now, I'm not talking about working through all your greatest psychological secrets, but more so working through the process of learning new things, working through the process of growing a business. That kind of, it's like reality TV in a way, except it's not as scripted and not as prepared as, say, Big Brother or, the Kardashians. Think about this, right? If someone's watching you 24/7, every single day of the week, every hour of the day, would you behave differently? And I think at first we probably would. I think I'd try to put on the airs and graces very early, but eventually you don't notice the cameras are there anymore. Eventually you don't notice things are there anymore. And you revert back to who you really are. Like a relationship. You first date someone, you're all about the airs and graces and impressing each other. And then little bit by little bit over time, you go back to the slob that you actually are. And that's like in my case. What happens though is that over that time, the people who are following along, they do change you a little bit. They don't change you to become less about yourself. It actually exposes more about who you really are. And you become a little bit more comfortable with exposing some of those things that you thought people wouldn't like. That turns out is much of the reason why people do like you after all. The quirkiness, the neurodiversity, the heavy accent, the fact that you don't aren't particularly comfortable in your skin. The fact that you wear crazy caps that you buy for $2.50 from a shop in Perth or whatever it is, that the little quirky bits about you end up becoming very endearing. People kind of like that sort of stuff about you. The third truth is that creating content builds trust. Social media is the way to sort of break down the invisibility barrier. We've already looked at that. But before anyone meets you, they will look you up. So what are they going to find when they look you up? If you search my name, Dante St. James, online, there's a ton of material on there. And that's very deliberate. I've made years, probably decades now, of being visible, because I believe that being visible online was a very important way to be able to both grow a career and eventually then to grow a business. But it takes consistency, regular content that shows you're not just committed and reliable, but you're not that different from day to day. There's something really trustworthy about you. So you could see in my content that today I produced a story in the morning, and then at 10 a.m. I sent out a video that was all about spam, because someone's been spamming me relentlessly for the last couple of months. And then I've got a carousel coming out at 1 p.m. Australian Central Standard Time. And then on Instagram, I've got like what I call it's something I've got. It's a little like a quote, I guess, is something I would think I would say that comes out on Instagram specifically at 3 p.m. Now, is it important that they come out at those times every day? I don't know yet. I haven't seen any reason for it. But I do know that I've had some of the biggest weeks of my online posting career in the last 2 weeks, where I've had very strong consistency of 3 or 4 posts a day at very specific times. So you know what you're going to get at each time of the day. Will that drop? Yeah, of course it will. And I'll pick up something and something will be a hit and it'll grow things again. But I think that content creation building trust comes also from people seeing beyond just what you look like or what your offering is, and into what the real value is about you. And the real value is not the same stuff that they could learn from anyone else. It's the things about you that they feel they relate to, or that they feel like you have a specific insight that others don't, because you may be in their market, you're in their age group, you're in their demographic, you're in their racial group, you're in their language group. Those kind of depths really help in order to give you a deeper first impression with people than just what they can see on an Instagram account. And then you also get to control the story about who you are and what you do, rather than people having to. That's the trouble with word of mouth, that you have zero control over word of mouth, the pace, the content, anything. It just becomes what people seem to remember about their dealings with you, and they pass it on. No control whatsoever. But when you create content, you control that story, you control that narrative, you control what people think of what you do, what you are, and how you do it. And that's the greatest value of it at all. If there's more content out there about you, that's you talking about what you do rather than others talking about what you do, then you have a place where it's a position of power. It's not about painting falsehoods, because if you're doing that, well, you might as well just you'll get caught out eventually and people won't trust you. That content creation of building trust just collapses if you're just lying and pretending to be someone else you're not. Excuse me. So now, how do we build that trust engine? We have to ask yourself, what do you want people to know about you before you ever meet them? And we're not talking about the deep, dark psychological depths of your being. We're not talking about, the worst things you've ever done, although you may choose to share those things. There's nothing wrong with it. I certainly do it. What do you want people to know about you before they meet? Remembering that this is the kind of stuff that will help them start a conversation with you, will help them feel more related to you, will help them feel like they trust you more, and puts a context in between who you are presenting yourself as being and the products that you present and the kind of person you will be that they feel like they could trust working with. When you see the recording of this, you might have to replay that a little bit just so you can remember what I said. Your content strategy in action then is number one about making it really easy for people to find you when they search. I'm very lucky, got a very unique name. I'm very easy to find. If you don't, and you have some spelling in your name that may not be easy for people to remember, then work on something that's going to be really searchable for you. Then you let your content show not just your expertise, but infuse in your values, your personality. Maybe answer one of 5 key questions that I like to infuse into mine, such as, what can I teach? What have I noticed? How do I think differently about this topic? The fourth one is, how do I deliver this as a quick set of tips? Or the fifth one, which is, what happened and how did I help it happen? So that's, some of the questions you may ask around that. And don't worry if you missed all that. We'll be doing a specific webinar on that down the track in the next several weeks. But also understand that if you don't have content online, that actually raises questions as well. Because I was looking for someone who's very, very digitally oriented, and I was wanting to refer them because I think, he's a bit of a genius. And I was wanting to refer him to people, but there is no social, channel that he uses. He just doesn't. He doesn't post anything. He's got a website where he's got lots and lots of, and it's not even a good looking website. Someone who's digitally oriented but is really bad at digital is not easy to be able to pass on to people. So it looks like, okay, there's an absence of content there on social media, that the content that is online is very hard to find for the specific things we're looking for this particular guy's expertise. So it makes you raise questions. Oh, well, he can't be too good if there's nothing about him online. And that's going to be the same for you too. If there's nothing about you out there, well, people are just going to assume, oh, gosh, you can't be that good if no one knows about you. Now, the fourth truth is all about speaking online, whether that's writing or videos like this or podcasts where it's just audio. It's the content as a mirror effect, where you pick a topic, you state a view, and then you look at where you stumble over that view and that topic. That allows you then to come back again and sharpen up your ideas, sharpen up your preparation. That it'll take a lot of those vague ideas about what you like to speak about and turns it into very specific things. So you can come back very, very confident every time you need to do these things. And look, I know it's actually a little bit hard because, you're stepping out there, probably not really great at public speaking, particularly if you're, working as a specific character or you've been working under a specific brand for a while. You as a brand is not exactly something you're used to. So what you do, you're choosing a topic you know lots about. So don't talk about things you don't know, that you've got very clear insights about it. So you're not just talking about an idea, you're talking about an insight, an idea, a statistic, something you've observed. Remember the 5 questions I was talking about before. What can I teach about this topic? What have I noticed about this topic? How do I think differently than others about this topic? How can I reduce this topic into a few really easy to remember points? And what happened with regards to this topic in my life and how do I overcome it? Then when you state your view, you're just simply answering those questions. It makes you more articulate, it makes you more confident in every conversation because you are not likely to stumble too badly over the things that you know really well. We tend to stumble over the things we don't know well. But sometimes, if you're not confident and it's the first time doing it and you're still very new to it, you may stumble here and there. Take note of those stumbles. Record so that you can go back and say, okay, that was interesting. I stumbled there. Now, what you'll initially do because you're getting started, you'll look at that and go, oh my God, I'm so shit. I'm so bad at this. Oh my God, I made such a fool of myself. And just remember that probably no one actually noticed that you stumbled there. I've stumbled 5 times. I've become very good at spotting when I stumble. I've stumbled 5 times so far in this webinar, and you may not have even noticed it because I just move on. So when you spot those stumbles, and I know where those 5 are now, and I know what I did wrong and what I need to do better next time, that helps me to sharpen my ideas for next time. So I tend to stumble when I'm going into trying to remember a situation and I try and make up a case study that doesn't exist. That always makes me stumble. So I come back again and go, just talk about what you've done and what you know. Don't try to make up case studies because they're not actual cases. This makes you confident in every conversation, whether that's on a YouTube video, on an Instagram reel, on a TikTok, or even just writing something down to go on something like LinkedIn as well. Wow. So hopefully you're getting something more out of this, because this is a lot of material, I know, and it's very, very sort of high level. So what you do in this next 7 days to get yourself started is choose that topic and choose that one platform. If you're going to do a topic, you're going to do maybe mindset mastery. You're going to do it on Instagram, and you're going to focus your energy there. So by the time you get to day 3, you will introduce yourself as someone who's all about that stuff on that platform, and a bit about what you'll be sharing with your audience. So I remember I did that a while ago, where I converted my Instagram, which was very personal, over to Instagram that is all business. Day 4 to 5, you're going to share a thing you've learned in your field this week. So that will be, what have I noticed out of my 5 questions? What have I noticed this week? Keep it really practical, keep it really useful. It could be about a client, but don't, tell everyone who the client was. Just be sure that you're doing something that's going to maintain privacy for people. By the time you get to day 6 or day 7, you can look at maybe posting a behind the scenes look at your work or your creative process. You can do a screen recording of what you're doing. I love doing those, because they actually test me to make sure, oh yeah, I've got to remember how to do this, because I haven't done it for a while. And here I am teaching people how to do it. So that would test you on, why are you selecting something you rarely ever do? Do something you do all the time, so you can show people. The reality is here, though, nothing you're doing has to be perfect. Just done is better than perfect. Consistency always beats quality at the beginning, because the algorithm is looking for a stream of stuff coming through you to pass on to people, so that they will follow you and continue to follow you. And rather than always having to go, oh, they've restarted again. What are they doing? Oh, they're about a different topic now. Okay, well, let's now find new people for them. You want to have the same people receiving the same thing as much as you can. The people who jump around their topics a lot tend to be the ones who complain about the algorithm hating them, and how they're in Facebook jail or LinkedIn jail or something like that, because they've been jumping around from what they are an expertise into becoming little activists and getting on top of trends. And that makes them really, like, as far as the algorithm's concerned and their followers, it makes them really hard to trust. So yes, it's not all about you. It's all about your audience, but it's you made for your audience, if that makes sense. So your story deserves to be heard. Start where you are with what you know, because the world needs lots of different voices talking about the same things, because not everyone relates to every voice. I listen a lot better to British men for some reason, because I don't know how I relate to them better. I'm not British. But heterosexual men online, I find I get a lot more out of than maybe people who are gay like me. I tend to not really be able to listen easily to other gay men. There's reasons for that. It's called affinity. Who do you have an affinity with? So the world is waiting for you to produce something that they have an affinity with, and it won't always be about your content. It will also be about the way you present yourself and the stories you tell, and how people can relate to those. Yes, be visible. Yes, move through fear. Yes, build trust, and let that sharpen your thinking. I've got our online guide if you want to continue that journey. It's just here on the screen right now, or you can follow the link that I've got down there below. But this will give you a bit of a heads up on exactly what we're learning today. And we will be continuing this journey over the coming weeks, where I'll be doing a little bit more about content creation, some of the tools, some of the techniques, some of the shortcuts that will help you to sort of start moving from the idea of creating that content to really connecting with the right kind of people and the right kind